So, before I start talking about the subject of this video, or at least the main subject of the video, I thought I'd give a quick shout out, I guess, to another, short movie. So, I watched this movie I watched this movie thinking that it would qualify, but it kind of dawned on me that it didn't. It's more of a short film, but so anyway, the film is called Ringing Bell. It's a pretty notorious little Japanese anime movie about this cute little sheep whose mother gets killed by a wolf, and then he seeks revenge on the wolf, but, along the way he decides he wants to become the wolf's apprentice, and, he learns to be a killer, basically, and, he ends up becoming this, he grows up into this scary, badass-looking ram. So, yeah. And it's very dark. But it knows how to balance a little bit of comedy in there. Well, mostly partway through. I think once he grows up, it gets really dark. And but yeah, it's a very challenging movie. It might not be for kids, but I don't know. It might be okay for older kids, but still. It's a challenging movie, and it, talks about the subjects of revenge and, surviving in a cruel world, and pretty much going down the path of a killer. It's a very challenging, dark movie, and if it qualified for this series, I would give it an 8 out of 10. But as it is, I decided that it didn't qualify quite for this series. So instead, let's talk about something that is on the opposite end of the challenging spectrum. This is another Japanese movie. It's another movie from Toei. But yeah, this is Toei's version of Thumbelina. So yeah. And so the story is, some old lady, or I guess she's more like a middle-aged lady. She wishes she had a daughter or something, and this fairy gives her this miniature girl. And yeah, she takes care of the girl for a while, and the girl has this best friend who's a bee. He's basically the talking animal sidekick in this Toei movie. There's one for each one, right? But yeah, then one night these toads kind of kidnap her because they want her to marry their son. And the son generally means well. He's not but he still has the hots for her, and he wants to marry her. But she doesn't want to marry him because early on in the movie, she first met this prince fairy. And yeah, needless to say, she fell in love with him, and obviously he's who she's gonna fall in, he's the one who she's gonna end up with. Yeah. So it does break the frog, toad, whatever. It breaks the toad's heart, but he decides to help her out. Let her go. And then she heads out further, and or her bee friend carries her along the way, and they reach this what was it, a tulip kingdom, and but it disappears because winter is coming, so they can't go there until spring. So yeah, she ends up getting separated from the bee because I don't know, he's recovering in a cave or something, and then she goes underground, and or I think she almost freezes, but then this rat lady takes her in and nurses her back to health, and then when she comes to, this mole comes to the house, and he falls in love with her and wants to marry her, and blah blah blah. Uh, yeah, I don't really care to talk about anything else. I mean, if you know the story of Thumbelina, you would probably get a good enough idea of what happens in this. Although, yeah, I guess some of the things are different from the Hans Christian Andersen story. I mean, I think the animals that want to marry Thumbelina were not so good in the original story. Well, I'm not sure about the toad, but yeah, I think the mole is usually the antagonist of Thumbelina. Or, or in most versions I've seen, or I've only seen a couple, but usually he's played up as the villain. Here, well, he's kind of the closest thing this movie has to an antagonist, but you can tell he's generally well-meaning, but he's still creeping on this young teenage girl. So yeah, there's some creepy implications in this, and but yeah, otherwise, I think if I remember correctly, the original story's a lot riskier. A lot of the same things happen, but it's it's a much bigger deal in the original story. Here, they're just little inconveniences, and yeah, on top of that, it's a really sappy story, or just the characters in general. Everything's just super sappy, and there's no risk, and there's no real villain in this movie. Yeah, there's just no risks taken, and it's yeah, watching this right after watching Ringing Bell. Yeah, you definitely see the contrast between the two. So yeah, this was pretty boring, and I didn't care for it. I mean, is there much else I feel I gotta say? I mean, I've only been going 8.5 minutes so far, and I spent much of that time talking about Ringing Bell instead, so yeah, there's not a whole lot to say about this one. It's just boring, and it's got a bunch of scenes that just drag on, and I guess they're trying to be funny, but they're not. So yeah. And the voice acting is very sappy. Most of them don't really have much to them. Or I don't know, there might be one or two characters that have some pretty decent voice acting, I guess, but yeah, aside from that, yeah, this one's a definite skip. I would not recommend it. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 10. And if there's anything else I feel I need to add, I'll put it in the comments. But yeah, anything else I remember that I intended to say. But yeah, I guess for now, that's all I have to say about this bland movie. So yeah, I guess I'll leave it at that for now. Mash it and smash it, signing off.